Hi guys. So today what we are going to be doing is talking about different types of democracy. So we know democracy is when the people or the citizens of a country or a region are able to participate in their governmental system. So that means that citizens are allowed to make laws. They are allowed to kind of shape the rules and laws around them, and really have a say in what the government system looks like. So, we're going to talk about three different types of government today, or democracy. We're going to talk about participatory democracy, we're going to talk about pluralist democracy, and we're going to talk about elite democracy. So I just want you guys to think about those words before you heard democracy. So participatory democracy, we know all what participate means. So that participate meaning having some engagement in something. Pluralist democracy, the word plural means more than one. And then lastly, for elite democracy, elite means like the best of something. So if you are an elite athlete, you are going to be the best athlete. So those are some things to think about as we go through this. So models of democracy. When the United States was founded, the founders created a democratic republic, which means it's a system of government in which the power to govern comes from the people, but elected officials represent their interest. So all of the power comes from the citizens, but the citizens elect individuals to represent them. So each state has certain representatives that are going to go to the federal systems in Washington, D.C. and fight for what their people want, who they're representing wants. The United States also has many different levels and branches of government that any citizen or group might approach. Many people take this as evidence that U.S. citizens, especially as represented by competing groups, can influence government actions. Some political theorists, however, argue that this is not the case. These different opinions have sprouted three popular models of democracy, which we just went over: participatory, pluralist, and elite. So let's start with participatory democracy. Participatory democracy is a model of democracy in which citizens have the power to make policy decisions. Participatory democracy emphasizes the broad participation of people in politics. However, this is not a direct democracy in which citizens are directly responsible for making decisions. In a participatory democracy, citizens can influence policy decisions but do not make them. Politicians are still responsible for implementing these policy decisions. The United States does not have a pure participatory democracy, but at some levels of government, we can see examples of a participatory democracy playing out. So a direct democracy would be people who are directly involved in making laws and policies. We do not have that. Nor does the United States have a pure participatory democracy. An example of that would be there are some levels of government where you're still going to have your representatives that are taking over and that are they are in charge of making those policies and laws. But we don't see that all the time. In that picture, there's an example. It says Senator Ted Cruz at a New England College town hall meeting on February 3rd, 2016. So examples of participatory democracy today. We can see participatory democracy in local and state forms of government, where citizens have multiple access to access points to influence policymakers. Town hall meetings are a way for local and national politicians to meet with constituents to hear opinions on topics they are interested in. So we see this a lot. This could be for a governor or a mayor. People will get together and the audience will be able to ask these people who are running for governor, for mayor, whatever. They're able to ask them questions, direct questions, and get an answer directly from them in real time. Only 24 states have an initiative process. Nevada is one of these states, and in 2016, the state of Nevada voted on Nevada background checks for gun purchases, question 1, which would require individuals who intended to purchase guns from someone who does not have firearm license to undergo a background check. A popular referendum, on the other hand, allows voters to approve or repeal the act of state legislation. Similar to initiatives, voters sign a petition to get the measure of the next ballot, but popular referendums differ in that the law in question has already passed in the state legislature. In 2016, May conducted a referendum vote on a measure that would outlaw hunting bears after baiting them with donuts. Because donuts are so popular for controlling Maine's bear populations, voters overwhelmingly defeated the measure. Both initiatives and referendums show how local and state governments allow for the broad participation of voters to influence policymaking. Elected representatives are then responsible for enacting the decisions of their constituents. So we can also see this in public schools a lot of the time. In a school board meeting, it's not just one person making the decision. It is the people of the community too that can attend board meetings and can vote on policies, and also have a say and kind of debate about what policies they think should be implemented or put into place. Next, we have the pluralist democracy. Remember, plural meaning more than one, so let's figure out what that means. Pluralist democracy is a model of democracy in which no single group dominates politics and organized groups compete with each other to influence policies. We see examples of pluralist democracy at both the state level and the federal level. As in the participatory democracy, anyone can participate in influencing political decisions. But in a pluralist democracy, individuals work through groups formed around common causes. Examples of pluralist democracy today. Most notable example of pluralist democracy in the American political system is the role that interest groups play in political decision today. Interest groups are groups of people who attempt to influence policymakers to support their position on a particular common interest or concern. And now let's go down and talk about elite democracy. Elite democracy is a model of democracy in which a smaller number of people, usually those who are wealthy or well-educated, influence political decision-making. Advocated by some of the farmers like Alexander Hamilton, the elite demographic model argues that participation in politics should be limited to a small group of highly informed individuals who can make the best decisions for all citizens. So in the elite democracy, they're talking about only a certain group of people who can participate in making laws and policies. Let's talk about some examples. We can see the influence of elite democracy today in the structure of our electoral college. So electoral college has to do with voting. Each state has a certain number of electoral votes, and that is what voting is based off of instead of our popular vote. So they take the sum of all of the electoral votes, and whatever presidential candidate has more of those, then they win the race. They win the presidential race. On contrast, though, there have been times where presidents, when the popular vote is counted, meaning that every single vote of every United States citizen is counted, there have been times where a president has won the popular vote, but then lost the electoral college vote. In U.S. history, there have been 3 presidential elections in which the people popularly elected one candidate for president, but the other candidate won the Electoral College and therefore the presidency. The Electoral College is an example of elite democracy because it places a small group in charge of making major political decisions, even if those decisions contradict the popular will. So if you take a look at the map on your page, you can see the number of electoral votes given to each state. So you can see Illinois has 22, Texas has 32, California has 54, Pennsylvania has 23. So these electoral votes really play a huge part in presidential candidates deciphering where they're going to go and where they're going to speak and where they can grab the most votes from. So if you are a presidential candidate, you're probably not going to be going to Wyoming or Utah or Nevada where you're only going to get 3 votes, 4 votes, or 5 votes. You're going to go hit up California and meet with everyone there and talk with everyone there because you could perhaps get 54 votes from running the state of California. Same thing goes for Texas. You might want to go and campaign in Texas and meet with people and try and win people over in Texas because you're going to get 32 votes from Texas. So keep that in mind.